All right, so since we're talking about the truck race, we're going to bring in our first ever guest here on the FTSR Overdrive. And the guest is our most recent truck runner. That would be Marshall Johnson. What's up, Marshall?
Hey Richie, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for coming on and joining our first segment of here. And congratulations on your first ever win at FTSR. So it looked like you had a heck of a car going on there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was a great time. First win, really exciting. When I go into those races, I'm really not thinking necessarily of a win. I know that's kind of not the racer mentality, but I want to compete. It's just always difficult in this league.
Well, I personally think you've stepped up your craft this particular year. So I think you've been getting better and you've been kind of overdue for a win. So let's kind of move on. We got a couple questions for you here in our little segment. So we'll start with the basics. You know, who you are, you're Marshall Johnson, where you're located, how old are you, do you have any family, that kind of stuff.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, Marshall Johnson here, just outside of San Antonio, Texas. Have been here for about 14 years. Actually, I grew up in Wisconsin, so if you hear an accent, it's the Northeast Wisconsin accent that I have. I am married. We don't have any kids, but we have a 5-year-old husky.
Awesome. So Green Bay, or do you root for a Dallas team?
I'll tell you, actually, funny story. Definitely Green Bay. I was actually married at Lambeau Field, which is, to the people that
Really?
are not familiar with the Packers, that's their home stadium.
Well, I'm in Chicago, so yeah, I know all about the Packers.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear about that, Tony.
Yep.
But fortunately, yeah, I don't watch football anymore, not since '85. So
So you were actually married in Lambeau Field?
That's correct. Yeah.
That's
It
awesome.
was at a Carolina Panthers game about 10 years ago.
Wow. Okay. That's cool.
so how long you been doing this sim racing thing?
Well, I actually looked back on my iRacing account. It says 9 years for that, but I really have only been on iRacing and actually doing racing with a wheel for 3 years. But for those of us that started off in the day with that Papyrus, I forget what it was actually called, NASCAR racing or something like that.
Yep,
I was
2003.
Yeah, I was doing that pretty competitively for what that was on our dial-ups back then, right? So,
Right, yeah. I think most of us that have come to the iRacing forum probably had started once over at the NASCAR 2003. I mean, it kind of started iRacing. I mean, they're kind of a hand in hand kind of a deal. But
Yeah,
yeah,
the basic core of iRacing came from Papyrus, so it was definitely the next generation of where everybody went from NASCAR 2K3. So
but what
so
got you into it though? I mean, what made you say, "Hey, you know what? I want to start doing sim racing. I want to." You said you only had a wheel for 3 years, so what made you finally say to get a wheel? I mean, I've had a wheel for 30 something years, so I'm just curious.
yeah, I don't that's a good question, Tony. I don't know how I got to the point of upgrading to bolting a wheel onto a desk to begin with anyways, but I was a fan of racing since I was a kid. I mean, as a 7-year-old, I had all the Hot Wheels and Mattel toys. I
Oh yeah,
remember having a Bobby Allison little die-cast Hot Wheel, the 144 scale, and pretty much had all of them back then. And then I even had the electric, was it the Tyco race car games? So
okay, yeah,
been a
yeah.
racing fan for a long time.
Well, I mean, we just recently found out that we're all basically within a year of each other as far as age go. And pole position back in the day in arcades, that was
Yes.
always the thing that got me started. And
pole
then
position.
when people ask me, what sim got you first into sim racing, it was pole position when I was like friggin' 6 years old. Dumping quarters into that machine.
Yeah, my initials were all up and down the standings on those things.
Right. I mean, I assume the two of or all three of us here would probably have a very
I
similar
I never had to use
experience.
I never had to use initials because my last name is small enough to be able to fit as the three digits.
That's true. Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
always just Coy.
Okay. I was MAR or just MJ.
All right. Well, if you ever see a pole position, it's got the MJ in there, then you know who it was.
That's who it was. Yeah.
So now that we know that you've recently bolted the wheel onto your desk, what kind of wheel and setup are you racing in nowadays?
Yeah. So big upgrades since late last year. I had somebody build me the frame, so it's that 4020 regular chassis, but I had bought a Sim Magic Alpha for my wheel, and then the P1000 for the pedals. Also
T1.
Sim Magic.
Okay, Symmetric. I was gonna say I didn't recognize the name. That's probably quite a bit of an upgrade from where you started for sure. And
Yeah, definitely.
What were you doing before? Keyboard, or did you have a joystick or flight
Uh,
stick or
well,
gamepad or?
so before the Sim Magic, when I started with y'all a couple years ago, I was on, was it a G27 or something like that? The
there was
Logitech.
Yeah,
there was G27 was the old one. Then they came out with a G29, and then there was a G920.
Yeah, I had a G27
and
that I
I
was.
had the G25s, but yeah, those were the first ones.
I still have it in the closet just in case I have a technical issue or a mechanical issue with this.
They're still decent wheels, and from when they first launched on the market, they were the cream of the crop. But I
Absolutely.
kind of almost sparked them for bringing it to bringing it to production to kind of get everything started. Because if it wasn't for them with the shifter and the whole pedal setup with the clutch and everything, I don't know. I think they got the ball rolling as far as I'm concerned, as far as Logitech. And yeah, they're decent equipment, decent beginner stuff for sure nowadays.
For sure. I think another big upgrade I had in the end of last year was getting a bigger monitor. I think I was like a 24, 25 inch, and now I've got a 49-inch curved monitor. So that's helping me see a little bit better of what's around me.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that definitely help you out.
You definitely need to see in order to race for sure.
They say that. I don't know. Sometimes I just close my eyes and go.
I'm the same way. Sometimes I close my eyes, especially when Tony's around.
Jesus,
Yes.
take the wheel.
That's
So
right.
outside of sim racing, what are some of the other things you like to do?
That's a tough one too, because I work a lot.
What do you do exactly?
I'm a general manager at a manufacturing facility that makes transmissions. We actually make the 10-speed automatic transmission for the Tundra, and then we make the 8-speed transmission for the Tacoma now. We just launched that line this end of last year. So that keeps me
interesting.
very busy. It's a big facility. We have over 1,000 people working there, so definitely busy. But when I do get a chance to get away, I like to go to the poker rooms in the San Antonio area, as well as golf.
So is there some kind of casinos and stuff around your area, or?
Not a casino. They actually have legalized poker rooms now.
Really?
So you can go and play either live or which like 2-5 for blind limits or up, or you could play in tournaments. So there's quite a few of them around. I just go to really just two of them that I'm familiar with.
Interesting, because
pretty cool.
I have a couple Indian casinos around my area, and then I also have like Mohegan Sun, and so we don't have poker rooms, but we have Indian casinos that we can go to. Plus, I have in New Jersey, we have Atlantic City, which is like 3 hours away. So,
well, if you ever want to donate and play poker, I'll be glad to invite you down.
Oh, I've always wanted to go to Texas. It's one of the few states I actually haven't been to.
Well, if you ever get yourself a VR, we can do the VR poker thing. That's always kind of
there.
Fun.
You go.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now you're a NASCAR fan. So what's your favorite car, track, combo? What drivers do you root for usually?
Yeah, it's the original driver that I liked was Dale Earnhardt Sr.
Absolutely, the man.
Yeah.
Yep.
And really ever since he left us, I haven't really had one single driver that I root for. There's times where I'll root against a group of them or a team, but really that's even kind of stopped now with how, I guess, the competitive nature of how it all is now is almost anyone can win. There's no real dominant teams anymore, but I tend to go with Hendrick cars and then Gibbs cars. Actually, a friend of the family, he's kind of has a linkage to, well, he had a linkage to Jimmy Johnson, but actually a cool thing that he had was seen him on TV on the Daytona 500 with William Byron's team. So that was pretty interesting.
That's cool. I'm surprised, being from Wisconsin, that Matt Kenseth wasn't brought into the mix.
Matt the Brat was definitely a fan while he was running, and I forget what his kid's name was. But I was thinking he would come up. That never did happen, or at least I never heard of him.
Well, it's kind of funny that you said, there's really nobody that, or at least there's nobody today that you really root for, and that's kind of where I feel, and I'm kind of in the same boat. All the old time guys that I used to really like to watch week in and week out, they're all retired now, And it's like some of these guys are just new kids, and it's like, yeah, it's like now I'm starting to root for guys that I would never even think of rooting for just because they have name recognition, like, say like a Brad Kay or a Kyle Busch, people that I wouldn't have rooted for back in the day, and
Yeah.
it's just because they're still out there,
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a different type of racing now, and even a different personality, I think, to some for the drivers.
No, 100%. Yeah, I would agree with that.
We don't have enough time for me to go into what I think.
Maybe another segment
It'll
someday.
be a whole nother segment someday. So
Yeah.
again, going off of racing, because we always we want to really try to get to know the guys that we got on as guests here. How about a favorite movie and some favorite food?
Let's see, favorite movie. It's not a singular movie, but Band of Brothers. Boy, when that's on, I'm glued to it and watch session over session with that. So I like that. For favorite food, toss up between smoked baby back ribs and pizza.
So you said you had a smoker. Do you make your own baby back ribs?
I do. Yeah, definitely.
Would they be your favorite by any chance? No.
They're pretty darn good. I would put them against most.
You are from Texas, so you got to have good ribs down there. Good smoke, good barbecue.
Yeah, and you say that, and in Wisconsin, I mean, we grilled, had a Weber, but there was no smoking like we do down here.
I don't know if Wisconsin has the smoking type weather for that.
Oh, they would figure out a way.
Half the year we don't, but where I was, you'd have a lot of below zero weather.
Some people are very foodie oriented.
Cheese.
I mean, they wear cheese on top of their heads, for God's sakes.
Well, that's right.
Well, they do beat the Bears with the cheese heads, but that's
everybody beats the Bears.
That's a whole nother story.
The only time the Bears win are when you see one in the woods and you're by yourself.
Well, Marshall, I appreciate you coming out and taking some time, and it was nice getting to know you a little bit and sharing some stuff about you. And again, honestly, congratulations on your win. It's a big accomplishment. We got a lot of really, really fast drivers in FTSR, and I was tickled to death when I looked at the results and saw you won. So, congratulations on that.
Congratulations on your first win. And usually that's kind of a rite of passage, and I'm sure we're going to see some more out of you.
Appreciate that very much, Tony. It was good racing with you the other day, and thanks to you too, Richie. Appreciate it.
You earned it, man. It's all on you. Thanks again, and we'll catch you back on the track.
Sounds good. See you out there.